It depends on your calendar. You are the president-elect now. I'm the outgoing president. So you give us time.
For his people and those who know him, pictures of him on the phone congratulating his rival looked promising.
I will never rule this country without your mandate since we started elections. And I will never cheat or dispute the elections, because this is the most transparent, rig-proof elections in the whole world.
Too good to be true was perhaps how Gambians really felt at the time, but they had suppressed it in the hope they might be wrong. They took to the streets to celebrate what appeared to be one of the most peaceful transitions of power in Africa. But with Jammeh now rejecting the very same results he accepted last week, uncertainty and despair will likely return. His move is seen as a possible reaction to demands by some in the opposition that he should be tried for crimes he may have committed while in power. Perhaps more than ever before, the Gambia is on the brink of a dangerous phase of its modern history. Mohammed Val, Al Jazeera.
Well, Yahya Jammeh seized power in a coup in 1994. The devout Muslim claimed to be able to cure AIDS with prayer, a concoction of herbs and a banana. He also claimed to be able to cure female infertility and called for homosexuals to be beheaded. Jammeh is notorious for jailing his political opponents. He won 4 multi-party elections before this month's surprise defeat. The regional body, the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, refused to endorse his election victory in 2011. ECOWAS said that voters and the opposition had suffered what it called repression and intimidation. 3 years ago, Jammeh withdrew Gambia from the Commonwealth, which was pushing for reforms. Loss of membership further isolated the small African country internationally. Human rights groups criticized Jammeh's treatment of journalists. Gambians cast their votes in this latest election during a media blackout. All right, let's get the thoughts of our guests for today. Joining us from the Gambian capital, Banjul, is Halifa Sallah, spokesperson for the President-elect, Adama Barrow. From Washington, D.C., we're joined by Jeffrey Smith, Executive Director of Vanguard Africa. And from London, Matala Toure, who's an independent analyst on West Africa. He's also a former senior analyst at IHS. Gentlemen, welcome to all of you. Halifa Sallah, we'll start with you. The video isn't particularly great on our Skype link, but we can hear you. What's the President-elect's view of Jammeh's rejection of the election result?
He did issue a statement yesterday indicating very clearly the process that this country has gone through to come up with the results of the 1st December 2016 presidential elections. It is very clear that under the Gambian constitution, a person elected has a 5-year term, and 3 months before the end of that term, we should have elections. And elections has taken place. The only authority responsible for announcing the results is the Independent Electoral Commission. They have done that, and President-elect Barrow is determined to be the victor of the elections. Fortunately...
So, am I right, just to clear something up, am I right in thinking that the current president, the incumbent, does have the right to contest the election result?
Well, what is very clear is that once an election result is declared, that stands. The only other authority that can look into the validity of the elections is the Supreme Court, which means that you have to file an election petition. What is abundantly clear is his announcement rejecting the results is immaterial, in the sense that you can accept or reject results of an election, but the results stand, unless it is questioned before the courts. So his pronouncement that the results were invalid and that we will have future elections has no legal foundation, no constitutional foundation. And that's precisely what President-elect Barrow said, that his pronouncement is just an opinion, has no legal foundation. He is President-elect. Jammeh should serve, outgoing President Jammeh should serve the rest of his term, and in January he is going to assume office as the President of the Republic of the Gambia. it falls on all members of the public to go about their business and leave the outgoing President Jammeh to serve his term and focus their attention on the day of inauguration of the president-elect.
Right. Just one more question, sir. President Jammeh said that a thorough investigation had been conducted since the poll. I mean, how they could have done that in 10 or so days, I don't know, 9 days, in which serious and unacceptable abnormalities in the electoral process had transpired. Could he be right? Do you think, is there any chance that the poll could have been fundamentally flawed?
Well, he has already accepted the results as the verdict of the people and the verdict of God. If he now questions it, well, he is the one, he who asserts must prove. He is the one who should go to the courts and prove his case. He cannot be judge, jury, and complainant at the same time. So I believe that he is someone who should go to the court if he is aggrieved. What is important is to know that such assertions over the air has no legal foundation. It should not be made in the first place. He knows where to go if he wants to question the validity of results of elections. As it stands, what we know is that President-elect Barrow is the President-elect of the Gambia, and that has been affirmed by the Independent Electoral Commission, and that cannot be questioned by any other authority except to the courts.
So thank you for being with us on Inside Story. We'll leave it there because the audio and video quality from Banjul are not particularly great. Halifa Saleh, they're the spokesman for the President-elect Adama Barrow. Let's bring in Jeffrey Smith, then in Washington, D.C., Executive Director of Vanguard Africa. Jeffrey, what do you think has happened? What can we read into Jammeh's acceptance of defeat and then, several days later, his rejection? What do you think has happened?
Well, unfortunately, this turn of events in the Gambia did not surprise many. For many observers of the Gambia, and certainly Gambians themselves, they become accustomed to Yahya Jammeh's erratic behavior over the course of 22 years while he has been in power. I think, as Halifa Saleh said earlier, just a week ago, Yahya Jammeh went on national television. He conceded defeat to President-elect Adama Barrow. Before the election, he said it would be the most transparent election in the history of the world, that Gambia's elections were, in his words, rig-proof. And then a week later, he does a complete U-turn on election results that were not only affirmed by Gambia's own electoral commission, they were affirmed by the Economic Community of West African States and the African Union. So this election has been universally accepted, universally affirmed, except for in the mind of Yahya Jammeh himself.